Okay, welcome back everyone. Today we are going to talk about Boolean editing. We're also going to use a couple of the tools that we used in a different lecture to be able to use Boolean editing to modify some different points on a shape. But right now let's talk about a little bit about what Boolean editing is. Boolean editing is a way for us to combine shapes in different ways. So the word Boolean is a little bit of an odd one. It has a very specific meaning in computer programming, but in 3D art, a Boolean editing is just three different ways of combining two shapes. And those three ways are union, difference, and intersection. Hopefully union and difference should make sense if you guys have had any higher level math before. So difference obviously is subtraction, taking away. Union is combining two things together. And intersection is where two objects meet. So what Boolean editing is going to allow us to do, I'm going to create a sphere, and we're going to use this sphere to combine our shapes in a couple of different ways. So I'm going to demonstrate all of the Boolean modifiers by using this sphere and this cube. We're going to put them together. So Boolean modifiers happen under the Modifiers tab. Let's see if we can find the Modifiers tab, which looks like a little wrench on the button bar. So if we take a look at this guy right here, you can see a little wrench. That wrench means that we are going to add what is called a modifier. And note, I want to back out. Note that if we look at my sticky notes here, Boolean editing is under the Modifiers tab. So one of these modifiers, if we look in this huge list, is a Boolean modifier. Okay, so a Boolean modifier is what we're going to be adding today. We always want to select the object that we want to do the modifying on first. So let's do the modifying on our cube, and we are going to modify it with our sphere. So I'm going to kind of stick the sphere in the cube, kind of like that. So now the goal of Boolean modifiers is to use this combination in three different ways. Let's start with the easiest one. The easiest one to understand is a union. Union just means we're going to combine these two things and make them one thing. So I'm going to go to Add Modifier. This is again under the wrench. I'm going to add modifier, and I'm going to add a Boolean modifier. Now, the operation that I want to do is union. So union is going to take these two and make them one. If I go into my little, where it says object here, this is what allows me to select what I'm going to do the union with. So you can see that I've created my sphere. I want to make a union with the cube. When I select cube, you can see that now this whole thing lights up orange. That means that these guys are now one shape. You can see some weird texturing stuff happening here. That's just because of a duplicate that is about to get made. So let's apply this. And now we have a new shape. It's just a cube and a sphere together. So that is how we get a union modifier. Clicking apply is a very important step. We don't actually get the shape that we want until we've applied it. So we can add the modifier, it'll show us what it'll do, but we don't actually get the result until we click apply. So now we've got this guy, we can do whatever we want with. I'm going to back up a little bit to undo what we did. So let's try a different modifier. That was union. Union combines them all together. Let's see what happens when we take the difference. So difference should take away whatever part the sphere is touching. So if I want to take the difference of this cube and this sphere, it's going to leave everything on the cube that isn't touching the sphere. Okay, try to think about what that's going to look like. So I'm going to take this sphere away from the cube. I'm going to add a Boolean modifier again. Remember, we're looking for this word Boolean. Oop, not mean to move him. I'm going to choose difference. And for my object, I'm going to choose the sphere, right? I want to take away the sphere. Okay, doesn't look like anything's happened yet, right? So we want to click apply. And now, when we move this sphere away, we've taken away the part that the sphere was touching. All right, we took the difference between the sphere and the cube. Now the cube just has this hollow little round part in it. All right, let's check the last one. All right, so we have a whole cube again. Let's test it just to make sure. Good, works. Let's add our final Boolean modifier. If we take a look at what that looks like, that's called intersection. Intersection is just going to leave the parts that it has in common. So it's just going to keep whatever part is touching. So we're going to add a Boolean modifier. Remember, all this is happening under the wrench. Whenever we want modifiers, we look for the wrench. We're going to go to intersection. We're going to choose the cube. And if you see there, we're going to end up with just the part that is touching the cube. Remember, it's not done until we click apply. So we click apply. Now if we move this guy around, we've got just this wedge. Just the piece that was touching the cube. So if we had no use for the cube, we could delete it now. But we end up with the intersection of the cube and the sphere. So those are our three pieces of Boolean editing. The stuff that I have to say about Boolean editing is really quick, but the way that we're going to use it is actually very interesting. We're going to be using Boolean editing to create windows. But I hope you guys can think about how these three modifiers might allow us to combine shapes in unique ways. Like if I want flat and round edges, I can use modifiers to get all these things together. Okay? So Boolean modifiers are going to allow us to create these differences. One thing that you guys are going to do in class is a little project called Frankenmonkey, where you're going to take Suzanne the monkey and you are going to deform her using Boolean modifiers. So we'll talk a little bit about that next class, but you want to remember the three of these, okay? Remember these three Boolean modifiers. All right. Next, we'll talk about how to make a lighthouse and how to use Boolean modifiers to create windows in our lighthouse. So stay tuned for that.